Welcome back to Coffee Break, everybody, and I'm Viv Jacobs, and today I am speaking with fellow actor Jack Moorby. Hi, Jack. Thank you for joining
Hello.
me. If you wouldn't mind starting us off by talking a bit about some of the stage productions and other projects you've been a part of, as well as maybe a little bit about yourself, then we can dive right into my questions.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm Jack, and I'm a British actor from West Yorkshire. I've been acting pretty much all of my life, but to an amateur level. But I've been having a lot of professional training in the last decade. I'm fresh out of drama school. When I say fresh out, it's a year and a half now. Um,
Oh,
you what, sorry?
I said, oh, wow.
Yeah. And yeah, I've been doing a few jobs here and there. A lot of because what the time I was training was during lockdown, so there was a lot of virtual productions. It was very studio filmed, so we were there in studio, but we were socially distanced. But that meant that we have recordings of stage productions, which is good because that means I can use them. And yeah, I've done quite a lot of short films. I've done a lot of theatre, especially with my training and a few professional jobs on the side. And I also like audio work. I did an audio book last year, and I hope to do another. Please hire me again.
Yes, please, because what I heard from your sample, I've told you this, and then I mean it, and I can't wait to get it. That was amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Took ages.
Yeah, I
13
imagine.
hours.
Oh, I just talked to another actor at the start of this month who also recorded an audiobook and said if you think of a radio commercial like a 30 like a sprint, the audiobooks are a marathon.
Yeah, yeah. I was saying this on the interview with Jessica, that my voice became so hoarse because of all the speaking, but thankfully I had it in a register later on in the recording where you can't quite tell, but when I spoke normally it was very
Oh yeah, I was like, I need some tea and honey.
oh.
Yeah. Oh, so now that we've sort of established that, my first question to you is, as you mentioned, last we spoke in this sort of manner, and you sort of talked about this at the start, was you've mentioned that you had only been a part of the professional world of acting for a short while, and I'm curious. As you are somewhat new on the scene, though you're no stranger to the stage, as we've established, have you found in jumping at the various fields of acting that you prefer one type of acting over the other, say stage versus short film, or short film versus voice work?
That is difficult. I think my first love is theatre, so I think I am going to go with that. Just because there's so much of a thrill to it, um, with the um, with the process side of it. Um, Also, when you're in front of a live audience, it's electrifying. Um, there's a tendency with it's more thrilling in the sense that live performance is more thrilling in the sense of with a film production or with audio work, you can get something wrong and then do it again. Whereas with stage work, it's very much no, you've got a suit. If something goes wrong, if you stumble, you've got to make it part of the dance. Um, and yeah, I find that incredibly thrilling, and the process of leading up to a stage performance is is exciting because you get to try out so many wonderful things you don't really get to try out much with, or as much with audio and film, because uh, time is money.
Yeah,
Whereas with stage work, there's more time, more free reign.
That's true. That's 100% true. So, my second question is the acting world can sometimes be limiting based on what we look like, sound like, how tall or short we are, the works. And I'm curious, despite that, and perhaps other obstacles, what kind of roles are you drawn to personally as an actor? And what sort of character really gets you excited to leap at that opportunity?
Oh, I've always really liked secretive people. Um, and consequently, I also really like people who are just big and out there, and but then again, they could just be big and out there because they're hiding something. I think
Right.
a part I've always really been fascinated by are some of Shakespeare's villainous kind of roles, like Iago, for example. I've always been fascinated by. So Iago's a villain in Othello, and throughout the whole play. So the audience are with him. He's the only he speaks to the audience. The only people that are in on his plot are the audience.
Mm.
And he's trying to manipulate his friend and his superior officer into thinking that his wife is cheating on him, and he's doing that out of revenge. And throughout the whole play, he's with the person he's manipulating, and he is coming across as very sincere and the most honest person, but as an audience member that it's all fake. And I like something like that, when someone's trying to hide something and they're trying to appear as something else, something with layers. Onions have layers.
Right.
Augurs have layers. So that's something that really draws me, is a mystique. There's something that's not, there's something they're hiding.
I like that too. I like the fact that in the last couple of years, villains are not just villains for the sake of being evil. There is something more behind their motives, and whether it's sinister or it's tragic. I think that makes modern villains more interesting
Yeah.
these days.
And I think not just villains, but just people, like, I think everyone does it. We all go through something in our lives. I'm not trying to do something awful to someone, but in order to try and get what we want, we're withholding information, or we're bending the truth a little. And there's
Yeah.
something like that. There's something with playing your way through the psychology of someone else, that is very intriguing, and I like that, because not only is it multi-layered, but it's very real. And yeah, that's something that really intrigues me about someone. What is their secret?
That's cool. Question three is when you were growing up, was there anything or anyone in particular that inspired your want to pursue acting, or was it something you sort of fell into at a point during like your early schooling years?
Definitely something I fell in. I don't really have a particular actor who inspires me. I have particular actors. I go through phases of, oh, this is my favorite actor. Actually, no, they're my favorite actor.
Right.
Um, but no, there's not something that gave me. There's not a piece of work or an actor's work that has given me a direct hook. Um, I grew up a lot watching classic telly, so a lot of the acting in that inspired me. I lost a lot of my Yorkshire accent because of it, because there was a lot of received pronunciation.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I grew up being big fans of actors. Like, I really like Jack Nicholson. I really like. There's a brilliant film called Amadeus. That's also a brilliant play.
Oh, I've
But there's
heard
an
about this.
Yeah, it's incredible. If you can watch it, please do. It's an incredible film. Um, but the actor who plays Salieri in that, F. Murray Abraham, um, it's one of the best performances I've ever seen. It's incredible. I will not go into too much detail why I think it's incredible.
Yeah, no, I had a friend who was a part of a stage production of that actually, which is really kind of cool.
I'd love to play Mozart in that production, because he is bonkers.
Mm.
And there's a lot of indication that Mozart might have been autistic as well.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was, and if you watch the film or if you read the play, you can see some things that are like, oh, he might be on the spectrum. Um, but
Nice.
but also I grew up watching a lot of different actors play parts. Like when I was getting into theatre a lot more, well over 10 years ago now. Ooh, I'm old. But I'd love seeing different people play Hamlet. I grew up as a big Doctor Who fan, and that's a part that constantly gets recast. So it's that kind of, it's those kind of things that intrigue me. I like seeing different people do the same part, and yeah, it was very much flicking between different actors and performances, and getting into it through stage productions. I'm trying not to ramble, but
Oh, you're
here we are.
fine. It's all right. Believe me, tangents are welcome here. I go on them often.
Oh, excellent.
You've mentioned to me that you've written a few short showreel scenes, such as "Victory for Victor," which that's my favorite, by the way, to this day. Still, that's brilliant. And I'm wondering, would you ever jump at the chance to write a feature film? And if you could, would you stick with comedy, or would you choose something else genre-wise?
It's so funny you asked that, because I'm trying to write something now. It's intended to be a stage play, and it'd be a one-man show, and it is very, very much a comedy. I think a writer that really inspires me is Douglas Adams, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, I freaking love that movie, and that book was brilliant.
Yeah, and the play is about Douglas Adams. And I'm trying to capture his voice and his sophisticated British humour, which is also very bonkers. But I think comedy, what I've gathered is I get a lot more. Even in my actor training, I get a lot more praise for comedy than I do for anything else. And sometimes I get slated for comedy. Sometimes a joke doesn't land, and it's like, why did you do that?
No.
That wasn't funny. That was awkward. But yeah, I think what's strange is I'd love to do a funny play, whereas with films, if I was to make a film, I like a horror. I think suspense is great. Yeah, I like suspense is great. And I was on a walk the other day, and I had an idea for a very short horror film.
Nice.
So it's a mix of answers, but I think really the two things I mainly lean towards are comedy and horror.
Okay.
And I've not really done a lot of horror. A lot of my show reel stuff is definitely not horror.
Would you say, I mean, this is not on my question list, but kind of since we're talking about this, would you say that maybe you've been typecast in the comedic roles, or are you okay thriving there?
I think I don't think I'm quite typecast at the moment in comedic role. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Yeah, I am quite typecast in comedic roles. And I am happy with that, because that's something that elicits a good response from people. Like, my first job out of drama school was doing just really, really small bit parts for a rehearsed reading of a play. And I got to read for two very small characters that were I don't think they were written as funny, but I think I made them funny.
Right.
I take from that what you will. And yeah, and a lot of people told me afterwards, oh, I liked it when you were that paper boy that kept coming in and shouting in every scene. And I especially got typecast in drama school I got quite typecast as the hopeless romantic in a comedic. in a comedic sense, and I got quite fed up of that in my second year of training, and I
Okay.
really wanted something else. I did get cast as Hopeless Romantic again, but I also got cast as another part that was a bit more vicious and a bit meatier.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So looking at your resume, you've been in some fun shows, and as I mentioned last time we spoke, I was even able to see one of them virtually back in 2021. It was yeah, it was on the Shores of the Wide World. Which if you want to talk a little bit about that experience, if you remember that experience, that'd be cool to hear.
Yeah.
If another is ever available in the same way, believe me, I would watch you perform on stage any day. But my question to you is, out of all the stage shows you've been a part of, which one stands out in your mind as your favorite? Or you can pick three if one is too hard to nail down.
I have one that has been with me since I did it in 2018, and it's my last show at my performing arts college before I moved away from to drama school, and it's called Flowers for Algernon.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's the character's name is Charlie Gordon, and he was a remarkable character. And I'd love to play that part again. It was a really challenging role. So the whole story with him is that he was a character with quite severe learning difficulties, but it's a sci-fi story. He has an operation on his mind, and he gradually becomes the smartest man on the planet.
Okay.
But with that comes some pitfalls, because his memory gets better, so he remembers things from his past, like some abuse that was given to him. He also remembers. He also realizes actually that a lot of people who he thought were his friends weren't. And also he becomes aware that scientists aren't treating him like a person, they're treating him as a lab rat.
Oh, that sounds like something I would enjoy, actually.
That you would enjoy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there are film versions of it on YouTube if you want to watch it, but I tried to get the recording of it from my show. It would not have been usable to me at all, because it was filmed on quite far away in a very blurry, flimsy camera, but it would have just been good to have it as a historical document for myself.
Yeah, I've heard of Flowers for Algernon, and it really does sound up my alley. I've been told to check it out a couple of different.
Yeah, but it's a great challenge for an actor, because you're playing one person. You're playing one person, but there are many sides to their character. So you go from when they're the past Charlie, who is a bit childlike, and a bit slow of learning, but then gradually they start to get better and better, until eventually they're speaking with much bigger words. They're speaking a lot more fluently. They become a bit of an arsehole. And then you have to go backwards, because in the end, slight spoiler, but not really.
It's all right.
He faces the dilemma of going back, of regressing back, and he doesn't know whether that's necessarily a good thing or not.
It sounds so intriguing, and that's really cool that you got to do that, though.
Oh yeah, I loved that, and I'd adore to do that again. I wish I had the recording. I wonder if there's a way I can somehow break into the college and get it. We'll see. But unusable, unlike On the Shore of the Wide World was filmed in much better quality, and
which was intense. That show was intense and amazing, equally as amazing.
Yeah, and even though I was barely in On the Shore of the Wide World, it was a 2.5 hour play, and I didn't turn up until the very middle of it, and then I was gone after 10 minutes.
Yeah,
But
you had like 3 scenes, I want to say, and I think you're on stage for the majority of some of the scenes because they had all of the chairs around in the center of the stage.
yeah, but that part that I played in that was a significant improvement from the other parts I had in first year, because in third year of my training, because it was a part that had an impact on the plot. I'm one of those actors that the lead role is great and all, but as long as I'm a character who impacts the story in some way, that is good enough for me. Like if I like to ask myself, if you cut my character from the play or the film, would the film or play carry on as normal, or would you feel the loss?
Huh.
Yeah, and that's something that I think all actors should ask themselves, is what is the significance of their role, and would the events play out as they do if your character wasn't involved?
True. My next question for you is there anything you found while jumping into the world of acting that strikes you as difficult in regard to your journey with it? Like if you hit any low points or moments that have really challenged you to dig your heels in and keep at it, even though it's not always easy.
Yeah, I think recently, so post grad life, because I had pretty much just 10 plus years of acting being a constant presence to suddenly not being there, because I'm not acting as much, I'm not working, and I think that gets to you a bit, because I started having a little bit of imposter syndrome, a bit of, oh, I am I really cut out for it now, because I'm out of practice. But when I do come back to it, it's almost like riding a bike. The whole process of acting comes back to you.
Right.
Um, but to give you any other example,
Take your time.
yeah, I think probably in the beginning of my training in drama school, because it's quite intensive, there would be certain instances where I'd be cast in a part, and then another actor would be cast in the same part in a different scene. And it's challenging when they're up performing or rehearsing in front of you to
Mm,
not copy them, and to stay true to your own interpretation. I think that was a really challenging thing for me. And it continues to be, because I think, like with Flowers for Algernon, I think a lot of actors will say this: when another actor sees someone else do their role, it's very, very, very hard to not not play copycat and just nick what they've done.
right.
And I think those instances are really challenging for me as a performer. So you get a bit of a double answer there. You get what was difficult for me mentally versus what's difficult for me in the training, in the act of finding a character for myself.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I think we do a lot of compare and despair. It's like, oh, they did that, so I should be doing that too, and that will make me stand out more. I understand that entirely. I had to learn that hard lesson when I recorded a scene for my project, and I was like, so
Hmm.
I said to my director in that moment, I said, so am I going to do this like this person did that in that scene? And they were like, no, you are not going to copy or imitate. You were going, and like they were very not mean, it wasn't mean, but it was very like, no, 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 here's where we're going to pull from, um
Yeah,
so that it's more you performing, not you pulling from something you've seen.
yeah, and there's a discipline to that, isn't there? And I welcome stuff like that. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, you've got to be disciplined as an actor.
Yeah, no, brought out the best performance I thought I'd ever done, because I was the freedom to ask the question, but not be treated like I was stupid for asking the question.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And, you know, there are no bad questions. There are no stupid questions in the act of finding a character, I don't feel. I think everything is valid because it's what you bring to the role. It's what is the information you need.
100%. So this next two questions are actually going to be quite fun. I promise you. There are some fun questions in here.
Oh,
but,
good. I'm getting so depressed.
what is one or more established shows that if you had all the power in the world to audition for and guarantee you to get a role in, what would that series be?
So what series would it be?
You had all the power in the world to guarantee you would get a role in that after you auditioned.
I'd love to do a sitcom. I think I'd feel very at home in that. I think any specific show, it's hard not to say something like Doctor Who.
Of course.
I'll be the frickin' monster. Put me in a Zygon costume, that'll be fine.
I join you.
Yeah. And I suppose something quite psychological, like a BBC show. But I think the thing I'd feel the most at home in, that I'd love to try, is a sitcom.
Something like The In-Betweeners, or something less raunchy.
I don't mind the raunchiness. I wasn't expecting to say that sentence today. But maybe something along the lines of, like, to go in with things in America that are quite high profile, something like Big Bang Theory. Because I'm quite a nerd. I'd fit in something like that, bit of a flat based, friend interaction based sitcom.
No, I can see that. Something like Friends or Big Bang Theory. Yeah.
Mm.
The other fun question is, let me see. We're not on that yet. Faith, go to the other one.
What is it? What is it?
So there are 3 fantasy shows out as of 2022 that I figure are going to be around for a while, and that's The Witcher, Lord of the Rings, Reigns of Power, and House of the Dragon. Would you at all audition for these shows if given the chance?
I would audition for anything given the chance.
That's true.
I will do anything. I'll do a peanut commercial. I'll be the dragon. Yeah, I'd love to. I see myself being in something like, I think House of the Dragon's a really good one, but I'm not subtle enough. I think The Witcher would be something I could see myself in if I was to play a part like, what's his name, the musician?
Oh yeah, like the bard Jaskier.
Yeah, him, but I can't play a musical instrument yet. But something, I saw him and I thought, oh, I can see myself doing that
Honestly,
part.
yeah, you would be good as Jaskier. I could see you in a role like that.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of go with The Witcher a bit more, because that just has a bit more of a part for me. When I did a medieval scene for my show reel, it was the part I was playing seemed a little intentionally performative.
Right.
And I think there's something in that, in The Witcher, that I think would be ideal.
That makes sense. So back to sort of acting. What's your process with acting? I know some actors who choose Meisner, some who choose method style. I know there's controversy with that style of acting, but there's a lot of acting techniques out there. What's your take on that as far as how it applies to the way you approach the various roles you've been in or gone after?
I throw some shit and see what sticks. Not sure if I'm allowed to swear, but there we go.
You're fine. It's totally okay.
I quite like a little bit of method, but only a healthy. So, for example, in my training, we would before I would play a part, I'd read to myself a poem that reminded me of that character,
Okay.
or I would listen to a piece of music. It's that kind of stuff. So it's not, I am the part, I am the part, I am the part.
Right.
I will only answer to my part's name. It's very much what's going to give me a feel for them, an essence. So that's kind of what I would look for, actually, to just put it in more succinct terms. I look for the essence of a part, and that gives me the mood, the feel for them. I could, giving my part a colour, or giving my part an animal. If they were an animal, what animal are they? It gives me a feel for them, and just it gets them into my body. Oh gosh, someone's. I hope you don't like take that clip of me saying it gives me a feel of them in my body.
No.
That's the only thing that records.
You're fine, Jack. Jack, this is fun. So we spoke a little bit back during the Asparagus Bunch interview on being neurodivergent and representation and why that matters, and how it can be hard, and sort of the do's and don'ts, and why the authentic representation is important. Now, my question to you is, do you think, or what do you think when you see the phrase, "I'm the first authentic autistic actor, actress to play X character"? Do you think that there is a race to be the first, or is there a race to try and be better than what came before? Because I see that floating around a lot.
Yeah, I think there is a race. I think it's more done to raise the profile of it, and it's to just say, look at how progressive we are, and look at how important this is. And I think it's a marketing ploy. It's like, we care, so we're casting the first autistic actor to play Christopher Boone in The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
Right.
So we're just going to say, this is the first one. But also, it's not just a marketing ploy. That is important. It's also important for the actor, for empathy, because they have lived experience of what it's like to be of a certain disability, or hopping onto a different matter, a different race, and it's progressive, and it turns heads, it gets people interested, and it's important for the actor and the director and the production to have lived experiences that are authentic come in to elevate their production and make it into something that's 100%. A lot more detailed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I kept seeing this all thrown around, particularly in the social media spaces where all that's prominent. And I kept thinking back to when I was casting you as Edgar, and I was like, I don't think I ever at one point had the idea, we're casting the first neurodivergent vampire.
I'm a vampire.
I'm like, I don't know how that would go. But I was like, but I really started to think about it. I was like, is it more that there's this race to be the first something, or are we really just trying to be better than what we had in the 90s?
Am I the first neurodivergent vampire you've cast? Because I'm neurodivergent and I'm a vampire.
Clearly, and so, but you know what?
Sorry, go on.
No, but you know what I mean. And so I sat there, and I was like, I don't even think that in the marketing of this character for my own project, my own stories, that I ever thought, ooh, I'm casting this someone who's on the spectrum. I'm just casting somebody who happens to be on the spectrum. I'm not casting them just because they're, you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, I've gone up for professional roles that they wanted a neurodivergent actor for, or they wanted an actor with a certain disability, or just anything along those lines. And I don't get the job, but I think that's good in a sense that there's no prejudice that, just because they're neurodivergent, we're getting them the job.
Right.
I think it's good that, they're neurodivergent and they suit the part that we want. Let's see them.
Right.
But it's not the be all and end all. And I quite like that about this business. And even though I didn't get the jobs in the end, which it's a shame, but
Right.
at least I know that they based it on
You're acting, not
yeah,
you were neurodivergent, and they were like,
and
oh, you're
suitability for the role. Just
sure.
because I'm neurodivergent doesn't mean I'm 100% suitable for a certain part. It makes me ideal to be seen and to be considered, but
Yes.
it doesn't make me the top candidate.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. Just because I'm neurodivergent doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not the neurodivergent you're looking for.
Yeah, basically that's essentially what it is. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yes. So my next question is another fun one. Are there any characters out there in the world of literature, classic or modern? Now, you mentioned Shakespeare, but are there any others whose story you would jump at in a heartbeat to portray in some way, be it on stage or otherwise?
Okay, so could that be so just a character in literature?
Yeah, either
That,
modern,
okay.
classic, current, like whatever, whatever you enjoy.
Hmm. Um. Uh, that's a tough one. I. Ooh.
If you can't think of it now, we can jump back at it. I can give you a little bit. We have 3 more questions.
Yeah. So could it be? So you're referring to books and novels?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's come back to that because I feel I need to let the cogs turn with that one.
Sure. So, what are your long-term goals as far as acting? The acting role goes for you. Is it something that you just can't see yourself being without at this point, or do you think it's too early in the path for you?
Too early in the path. I can't really see myself without theatre. I really want to do a play. I think it's so important that I do more on-screen stuff because, especially television, I really need to get a job in television. Not for lack of trying,
Okay.
but yeah, I can't see myself without theatre. I think that's a really difficult thing to separate myself from.
Right, right. Quite not even a while back, but quite recently. I wasn't sure when this was going to happen, so that's how I phrased it. You were part of a stage production called The Man in the Moon. What can you tell me about your history with the show, and maybe even talk a little bit about that recent experience? I'm definitely curious to hear about this one.
Oh, okay. So Man in the Moon, we've just finished a few days ago. It's a really small scale show. It's very much for the community, and I did the first production of it in 2019, and I was brought on very last minute, and it it was a short play, and it was very low pay, but it was a good thing to do. It was a good job, and it was done very much for, excuse me, done
Okay.
for a thing called the Festival of the Moon. So when we did it in 2019, that version was all about scope, because we were doing it under a massive inflatable moon that looked incredible, because it was done in a moon exhibit.
Okay.
And recently it wasn't. It was done very much small scale, but that's good, because whereas the first production was all about scope, this was all about intimacy.
Okay.
And yeah, and that's what I really liked about doing it again this time round. There was something quite the two productions are very different. The first one was very physical theatre, which I'm not as well adjusted to. I'm pretty good at physical theatre, I think, but it's not in second nature for me. Whereas in this one, that's a lot more dialed down. There's a lot less physicality, and a lot more about, you can go smaller with what you express, because it's in a smaller space, and
Right.
because of that, I think the drama is elevated. And yeah, that's the great thing about doing the same play, but you're doing it in two very different settings, and that changes the style of it completely. And that's what, that's the highlight of doing a play like this again. It's good to revisit a part as well. The first time I did it, was my part's quite ethereal. It's very much the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future all rolled into one. And I played it as quite ethereal first time, but this time I got to be a bit more childlike and a bit more, ooh, this is fun. And that was just naturally found from doing more rehearsals.
So I don't know. I may have asked this question, or I may have skipped entirely, because my brain, for some reason, keeps skipping this question.
Okay.
You've had quite a few stage roles. You've done an audiobook, and you've graciously, I can speak today. You've graciously have been part of my audio drama series, the latter of which I'm proud to have you as part of. But what's a dream role of yours? Do you want to play the hero, or are you hoping to step into the shoes of a bad guy?
Right, yeah. So I would really love to play a hero, but I want to play a really unlikely hero, like someone you would no one would see it from. So, and that could be for whatever reason. Maybe they're really cowardly, or maybe they're a bit of a dick, or they're very self-centered. They're not really that much of a presence. There's a shyness about them, or there's something about them where they come across as quite, for lack of a better term, dim.
The opposite of who they are, really?
Yeah, just you would not expect it from them, but then suddenly they surprise the audience with a selfless act of bravery. Yeah, a really unlikely hero is my idea, is a part that I would love to play right now. And I think because there's something not too conventional about that. I love villains. I love traditional heroes. I like the comedic side characters. But to play a hero who is someone who is so so cut off from that side of themselves, but then suddenly here they are. I think that's fascinating. I'd love to do that.
True. Now I guess another question. So Netflix, this is, Netflix sort of has
What's that?
has a Narnia series that they are currently trying to develop. Would you, if you were given the chance to be a part of that whole world, because they're claiming it to make it as expansive as Game of Thrones? Would you be a part of that?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. I would literally be in the background if I could. But yeah, there's something about fiction that's really intriguing. I think real life's great and all, but with fiction, there's so much more of a mystique to it. and there's so much more atmosphere and scope to it. I would love to be a part of something like that.
And just the act of just falling, I think, into that whole fantasy world, you know, I mean, you have Tolkien, you have The Witcher's creator, you have Lord of the Rings, you have, you know, all these various, you know, these various fantasy worlds, even the current one, Shadow and Bone, that's out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just, there's so much, and to be a part of any of that, I think would be definitely amazing.
Definitely. And
So
it's great to watch and be a part of as a viewer and as a creative, I imagine.
that's, oh yeah, yeah. Trust me, to play in that world. If I had the official means to actually play in that world and be a part of that writing team, I would in a heartbeat. Have you thought any more about your character from the literature question?
I'll do Prince Rillian. Fun
Really?
character. Or what's the other one called? Puddleglum?
Oh, Puddleglum's amazing. Who, by the way, was played by Tom Baker, and I didn't
Yeah,
know
I
that
remember.
in the BBC version.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, I'll go with Puddleglum, but just because there's something. I'm far too young right now, but I think when I'm older, a part like that that's a bit of an eccentric old man, and just of a different world, I think that's really intriguing to me and could be a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody needs to adapt. Like somebody in the professional world needs to finally adapt Silverchair like properly.
And well, apparently I heard that there were plans to. They were going to make a movie.
They were, and then
but yeah,
fell apart. Completely fell apart.
As kind of a reboot, but a soft reboot. So the films that they're made have happened, but they're focusing on prequels.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. And I wonder if they would Prince Caspian Silverchair, because fun little fact, Rillian is not at all, you know, in the he's not he's in the back half of the novel
Of Prince Caspian.
of Silverchair.
Oh, of Silverchair, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. I was wondering if they were going to like Prince Caspian Silverchair, because Prince Caspian's not even in the entirety of Prince Caspian. He's in a bunch of
false advertising. I came to see some pretty boy with long flowy locks.
I came to see Ben
Barnes. I bet you're going to take that little clip of me saying that now, and that'll be what funny. Circles round.
You're funny, Jack.
I'm not trying to be. What are you on about? That's fine.
Oh God.
It's all right. Carry on. No, I'll try and behave.
No, you're fine. No, listeners, but you should hear half the recordings Jack sends me as Edgar.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to know the things that I have. I don't think I'll ever forget La Pisse, Jack.
Oh, that, yeah. I think I've still got that somewhere on my laptop.
That is living forever in my brain.
Yeah, same. It's I love it when you mispronounce words in a recording.
Honestly,
I once did this was years ago. This was in high school. I say that like I'm ancient. That was years ago. Years
ago, you need your cane now.
But the most embarrassing moment I've ever had on stage was when I played the advisor to a king, and the king was in love with this peasant girl, and I went up to him, and my line was, "Remove her from your eyes." So, and I kept saying it in rehearsals: "Remove her from your eyes. Remove her from your eyes. Remove her from your eyes." Then in the performance, "Remove her eyes."
Oh no!
Yeah. The king, the guy playing the king, never spoke to me again.
That is funny. Oh my God.
It is, looking back on it now. I was mortified back then.
I
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go far, aren't I?
Well, I can say you've done really well. You know, we haven't had too much, but you have made me like. There are times where I just have to sit for a moment, and I laugh quite a lot. It's not just you. The entirety of the cast has things. I think at one point Malachi's actor goes, "I'm in hell," and I'm like, "Where did you come from in the line that we were supposed to say help?"
Oh. That's cool.
Like help went from I need help to I'm in help.
No.
And I guess to kind of run it all in and bring back the last question.
Yeah, focus.
Focus, you two. No,
it's okay.
We can't be serious to save our life. Thank you for joining me for this. What is one piece of advice you would give to a much younger you to encourage yourself that the strides you're taking now and the strides you have taken will at some point, happen, be a reality as far as acting goes?
I would say to my younger self to be proactive in everything you do, because I think we all have a tendency to not make things happen. Either we're bored, or we have some self-doubt, or we think we've got something, but we haven't really. Just to always keep coming back to it and keep exploring, keep doing new things, and find the fun in it. Be proactive, actors. It's will you will get more fulfillment doing your job, and you will find more opportunities.
I agree with that entirely. Well, once again, Jack, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to plug your social medias and where people can find you, as far as that goes, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, my social media username is the entire text of Romeo and Juliet uncut. My socials are pretty much my name. It's Jack Moorby. If you're on Twitter, it's Jack_Moorby. What's that thing? The bar is at the bottom.
Yeah, yep, you got it. That's the underscore.
Yeah. So Jack bar at the bottom, Moorby. And that is me.
I think it's the same for Instagram as well, isn't it?
I think Instagram's just my name. Apparently, just Jack Moorby was taken on Twitter, but it wasn't. It's not taken in the acting world, so I don't need to change my name yet.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I reserved some names in case I had to, but I don't have to.
That's true.
I'm going to be called Basil.
Basil Rathbone.
Yeah, what a cool name. How many people do you know of apart from Basil Rathbone, Basil Fawlty, and Basil what's his name? Basil Brush. How many Basils do you know?
Yeah, I know.
Basil Rathbone, what a name.
Yeah, favorite actor for Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, is he? That's cool.
Yeah. He was Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce were Sherlock Holmes and Watson in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, of course they were. Yeah, Basil Rathbone's quite well renowned in that role. Yeah, I'll need to check his performance out again sometime because it's been a while.
Yeah, true. Well, once again, Jack, thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. It's been a pleasure.
It's been fun as always.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Jack. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.